All right. I love chatting with you. So welcome back. Um, what's been coming up a lot for me in with my clients, and I just today heard a podcast on this topic, and it's the topic of creating emotional and psychological safety within yourself. So the podcast that I listen to, so I am certified through Dex Randall's advanced burnout certification. And he has a podcast all about burnout recovery. And his latest podcast was all about this idea of what what you're capable of doing, and the resiliency that you can create when you feel safe, right? And this is a topic that comes up a lot when I'm coaching my clients out of burnout, right? This idea that safety is an inside job,
Mhm.
right? There are people in our lives who make us feel safe. Those trusted friends, hopefully your significant other, right? But ultimately, safety is about your internal world.
Mhm.
So obviously I could talk about this particular topic forever, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Just, I know this is like, hey, let's chat today. Here's a topic, but what's first of mind when I bring that topic up for you?
I love this dynamic. I love that we can bring a topic up and just do it raw. And that's what this is
Yeah.
about. So yeah, feeling capable, feeling safe, really self-regulating,
Yes.
right? Self-regulating our own emotions. I do love that you did add that co-regulation is a word that came up today. If you have a partner in life, someone that you've intimate or not, someone that's really close to you that really understands you, and you have talked about what helps you regulate your emotions when you are falling down the scale. Having some sort of communication when things are going well or decent, that needs to be addressed and spoke about, because both of you are going to be very different. But
Mhm.
co-regulation is extremely important. The thing is they're not with you all the time, and you're not able to call them and say, I'm feeling really off right now, please help me get through this. So self-regulation is incredibly important, and it's really about being able to stand in your own power. Because if you give your power away to your partner, your mom, or something externally, the thing is that really it shrinks you. It has you feeling oftentimes helpless and hopeless and needing something externally to make you whole and complete. And that is a paradigm that will always have you feeling weak, not good enough, fear-based, worrisome. And it just grows because that feeds into the left brain, the survival brain. So it's really about being able to have the tools and the resources to self-regulate any time of day, anywhere you're at, whether you're in traffic, whether you're in the grocery line and someone yells and screams at you. Being able to self-regulate, I think, is incredibly powerful.
So I love that you brought up self-regulation. I was at a meeting today, and a networking meeting, and the presenter was talking, and the room we were in, we were at a conference or a hotel and conference center. And next door, it sounded like a washing machine or something was like thub, 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 thub. I mean, obviously, I don't know what it was, but like right on the other side of the wall from this conference room. And everybody's just like, it was loud, right? And everybody's just kind of looking around. A couple of us were like, I was just, yeah, I'm like, yeah, it's got a nice beat, whatever. But it finally stopped and we got through. But I was talking with one of the guys after the meeting. He said, I about lost it. He's like, it was so irritating. That thump was so irritating and so upsetting that I was getting angry and I wasn't going to be able to handle it. And it was just so interesting because I thought my thought immediately went there. I was like, oh, so you don't know how to self-regulate when you have some sort of external irritant. And we talked about that for a minute. He's like, I don't even know what that means. Like self-regulate what? Oh, I lost Catherine. She'll pop it back in. But this concept of self-regulating just means I can feel that survival brain. It's alarming. It thinks something's wrong, and I notice it and I slow it down. Not that I shut it off completely, but I slow it down. Hopefully she'll pop back here in a second. But that is ultimately what self-regulation is. You hear that alarm. I just continued on. I just continued on without you. I was describing what self-regulation feels like. It's
Good.
that alarm, that survival, and you see it and you notice it and you say, it's okay. Slow down. We're not in danger. Because I mean, we want to feel alarm if there's a loud noise going on or somebody's talking loudly to us, right? We want the alarm, but then we want to be able to notice it and go, actually, I'm not in danger here. Let's slow that adrenaline down. Just take that down a notch, right? That's self-regulating, bringing that awareness to I'm safe. I don't need to hash this out with my partner. I don't need to call my mom. I'm literally okay in this moment. And it's not magic, but like it takes practice, right? It's something everybody has access to, but we haven't been really taught it as a society. So it feels like magic when you learn to do it. Like in that meeting, I was like, oh, this sound can happen. I'm fine. I know that I'm safe. I can tell my nervous system I'm safe. You can ignore that. But a guy sitting right across from me didn't have that skill to notice that his alarm bells were going off. He didn't know how to calm his nervous system. So that's that sense of like knowing I can tell myself I'm safe, not in a condescending way and not in a fake way. If you're not safe, you're not safe, right? But so often we're in situations where, yeah, our boss might be raising their voice, but we're safe. They're not coming at us. They're not, even if they were to fire us, we're okay, right? And it's that moment of like, can you keep yourself emotionally, like tell yourself, you know what, body, I'm safe. I'm okay.
I love
It-
this example that you provided. I think that's so new, raw, and fresh. And the thing is that comes to mind is what it really boils down to is our thoughts and our stories around that noise. And when we really start to, and you're right, you talked about practice, and this is something that you don't develop self-regulation and go, oh, check that box. Now, what am I going to work on now with my, self-development? This is something that takes work every day. And it's being intentional and seeing it and realizing that everything we experience is via our thoughts. So that noise, the thumping, the story that you made up about it was, let's check out this beat. That's awesome.
yeah.
And it kind of
Feel
got,
good.
maybe the blood pumping, and it was
Uh-huh.
kind of a bit
Yeah.
fun, and it was
Mhm.
silly. And the other
Yeah.
guy is just like, oh, I can't handle this. This is terrible. It's awful. It's disruptive.
Yeah.
And so those are two separate feelings from the same exact situation that is just pure thought.
Yep.
And when we really recognize what it boils down to is it's your thoughts, your perceptions, your judgments, your assumptions, your expectations, because he probably expected it to be silent and, I
And
can't think and this and
yeah.
that. And it's purely has to work on that internally. That is a trigger that
Mhm.
he has to work on. A lot of people are like, you're triggering me. No, 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 no. Your triggers are for you to work on. That is the alarm bell, as you were explaining. That is an alarm bell that is just, it's what I call a smoke alarm. It's just letting you know that that's something I've got to work on.
Yeah.
That's an area of my life that needs up leveling, needs improvement.
Mhm.
That's what self-regulation is.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I love that. And one of the things when I was talking to him, he said, when that noise started, I thought, here's the what did he say? I can't handle one more thing. He had already been so stressed that that noise was like the straw for him. That's why he was so irritated so quickly, right? And and it's just because he doesn't manage his thoughts. He hasn't been taught that that's a thing, right? He hasn't been taught that all of those stressors leading up, you can choose how you want to react to those. You don't have to let them pile up. You can literally address them as they come up, decide if it's something you want to hang on to, let go, put on the back burner. Like, you don't have to just be like, oh, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing. That concept of overwhelm is like, really, we do that to ourselves. It's not the boss giving you another piece of paper. It's not your manager. In my, as a nurse, it's not the manager coming to you and saying, you need to take 5 more patients. It's not the discharge planner coming to you and saying, you can't discharge your patient. We don't have the right paperwork. Like, it's not those things. It's the, like you were saying, it's the thought. It's like, oh, yeah, when my manager comes and says, I need you to take a full load of patients, if your thought is, here's the final straw, well, yeah, you're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel hurt. You're going to feel triggered, right? But when your manager comes to you and you think, wow, she thinks I'm really that strong. Huh, that's pretty cool. Then you stay calm, right? And you're able to engage your higher, like that prefrontal cortex thinking, and you're able to go, wow, she thinks I'm really strong. I wonder how I'm going to make this work and keep everybody safe. Well, I'm going to go talk to my charge nurse and see what kind of resources I can pool taking that load, right? And because you're not dysregulated, you're not activated, you keep your brain calm a little bit and you're able to be creative in your problem solving. You're able to think strategically, right? When we allow ourselves to be like, oh no, everything's wrong, it short circuits our ability to access that higher level problem solving thinking. We have to regulate first, get out of that dysregulation. That's when we can access that. When we're in that fight or flight, you can't really fully access the problem solving and all of that logistical type thinking. You have to slow down, calm that part of your brain, regulate, and then you can be like, okay, here's the situation. I've got a noise going on in the back room. I cannot focus on the presentation. I'm going to go talk to the conference manager and see if they can turn whatever that noise is off, right? But if you're dysregulated, you can't slow down and think through, how can I make this better?
Yeah. Yeah, usually working with a client, first thing in my mind on every single coaching session, is this an inside problem or an outside problem? I don't ever
Mhm.
say that, although I have actually, now that I think about it, I have said that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, mostly that is the first thing I'm trying to figure out. 99% of the time, it's an inside problem. It's
Mhm.
right here in between the ears. It's an
Mhm.
internal problem. But you're right, with that noise, if he's regulated and thinking clearly, can I change it or do I need to accept it? And if you can change it, like you said, going to someone and saying, hey, this noise is very disruptive.
Mhm.
Maybe, that is something that he would find in clarity, and that is, I think, the other thing that came up for me as you're speaking is, for him, that's the last straw. It's like, well, how we do one thing is how we do all things.
Yeah.
So oftentimes that is his approach, that
Mhm.
everything external is to blame for how he feels. And so I think I was actually in a class earlier today that was talking about how we are raised has a lot to do with how we feel about feelings, or where we think they come from. And my comment is, I don't know about you, but I was raised in a household where you were seen and not heard. And so I wasn't allowed to have feelings. We didn't talk about feelings. You weren't allowed to show feelings. So it was just like, I think that over the last 10-12 years, I've really realized, one, where your feelings are formed, where they're created, how they're made.
Mhm.
And I think that really, really sets things apart, and it helps me self-regulate really quickly, really easily, and really bring empathy to someone that's maybe taking their day or week or whatever out on me. Like that guy that you mentioned,
Yeah.
maybe the gal at the coffee hut that he got coffee at that morning, or this morning, if it was this morning,
Yeah.
maybe messed up his order, and she's having a bad day, and and just like this avalanche of things start happening. But and then he probably, if that occurred, he probably is thinking, oh, it's your fault, my coffee's burnt or whatever. And I mean, when we walk around like that, it's just like we have this huge black cloud over us, and we're looking through the lens of this whole world is terrible and horrible. And then, and then we watch the news, and sure enough, there's more proof, there's more evidence. And we just start looking for evidence and proof of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Where if you look through the lens of empathy and compassion and understanding, somebody messes up your coffee, you know what? It's not a big deal. Thank you for, doing that today. I really didn't need all that extra sugar and syrup or whatever, whatever
Right.
occurred,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
see gift and possibility and
Mhm.
beauty in the moments, and having empathy and compassion. Because if you have empathy and compassion for other people, that shows that you have it for yourself. And that again is imperative for self-regulation.
Yeah.
If you're out there, yelling and screaming and being ugly and mean to people, I look at them with deep compassion, because I'm like, what is it like to live in that head? What is it like to live in a place where you're just, because it's usually a fraction of what goes on in here. Working with so many people over the years, when I hear that they're really tough and hard on people, to me, I instantly go, whoa, what's that like living in your world, in your mind, in your reality? Because I'm positive you are really brutally harsh on yourself.
Mhm.
Share with me, what's going on, and how you're experiencing life. So it's always fascinating to me.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I think it is one of those things where they were probably raised to not to bury emotions rather than identify them and deal with them, right? And when they were activated or feeling stressed, they were told, no, you're not, right? What's wrong with you? You shouldn't be stressed right now. Which I think shouldn't is one of those words that's like, okay, but I am. So now what? Now I'm wrong. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with me because you're telling me as my parent that I'm 11 years old and I shouldn't be crying. I shouldn't have my feelings hurt because the girl said a mean thing, but I do.
Yeah.
So does that mean I'm broken or does that mean I'm wrong? Right. And when you're raised to not, and I'm not saying that as an 11-year-old, they should be told, oh, just cry every day. Your emotions are the most important thing. We should be teaching children, oh, you're feeling sad. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Why do
Yeah.
you think that that girl said that?
Yeah.
Probably because she doesn't know you very well, huh? What do you think about yourself, right? If that kind of growing up, you grow up to be somebody who can have compassion because you have compassion for yourself. As
Mhm.
an adult, if you learned to be self-critical and self-judgmental and not regulate yourself and your emotions and your autonomic, I mean, even your emergency like even your internal like fight or flight, if you didn't learn how to do that as a child, well, guess what? Now's the time, right? This is exactly like you were saying, this is exactly what I coach my people with because so often they want to get to the point where they can be that person who's like, I have compassion and love for everyone. But like, how do you get there? If all you can see is all the ways you screw up, if all you can see is all the black cloud things, like how do you get there? Like sometimes you have to hire a coach. Sometimes you need somebody to help you pretend you're that 11-year-old and ask you those questions,
Mhm.
right? And let your brain start to slow down and spin down, like downshift and like, okay, that's a good question. I never asked myself that. What if I could be calm in that moment? Oh, okay. Thanks, coach. Let me think about that, right? Because it's really any adult brain can do this.
Mhm.
But sometimes I think people get so, I mean, and this is the reason there will always be life coaches and burnout coaches and mentors and coaching programs is it's so hard to see our own brain.
Yeah.
So hard. I mean, that's why I have a coach personally, because it's so hard to ask the right questions and to see our own brains. But once you've done it a few times, right, I can hear that noise and be like, oh, that's cool. I'm not going to let it bother me. I'm going to be able to stay focused, just groove with it. It's fine, right? Because I've self-regulated
Mhm.
multiple times. The other thing that comes up with me when I think about safety and emotional safety and internal safety is that exact kind of topic we were talking about where you learn very early on to be self-critical.
Mhm.
And I think feeling safe means you don't treat yourself like crap. I think about the people that I feel safe around. When I mess up, they love on me.
Mhm.
The people that I feel most safe around, I can act silly, I can
Mm.
act mean, I can have a bad day, and they're gonna either call me on it because they love me, or they're gonna just be like, "Go, girl, go drink some water and take a nap.
Mhm.
Babe, this is not appropriate. Stop." But they're gonna do it in a way because they love me. The people I don't feel safe with, I'm not okay being myself around.
Mhm.
I want to avoid them. I listen to what they're saying, like a boss who's super critical. Like, I may listen to you, but inside I'm scared and my alarm bells are going off. And I'm going to do anything I can to get out of that conversation quickly. Right. And I think when it comes to feeling emotionally safe, we have an opportunity to love ourselves well in order to create that feeling of safety. How does that resonate for you?
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love your examples. Yeah, the feeling of safety, first off, again, it's the stories and what we're believing in our thinking, you know. It's critical and being able to foster and create that sense of safety, however that looks for you. And it's going to look different for everyone that I have worked with has their own version.
Mhm.
And it's really about blocking out that time in that space, weekly, daily, whatever that is. I minimum weekly, but it's having space and time to really ground yourself or find that safety or self-regulate. All these terms really kind of overlap in some fashion or form, but it's really being able to access that feeling and know what that feeling is so you can access it anytime. And that's what a lot of people are, when I coach, it's about an understanding. It's
Mhm.
understanding and experiencing a good feeling.
Mhm.
And we've talked a little bit today, we've talked about in the past, and I've talked about it on my videos too, about thought is what's creating a reality. And then some people kind of get it a little bit twisted. It's like, well, that means that you want me to think positively or do affirmations or chants. I've never ever said that, and that's not what I point to. What I want is to bring a realization that your thoughts do create a feeling, and there's a feeling that you can be in um, that you could access at any moment, at any time, even when you're being told the worst possible news. It can be accessed, but if you don't know how to access it, if you don't have the tools and the know-how and the feeling, and you don't experience that, then it really is, you're kind of really, life would be happening to you.
Yeah.
Everything that happens, you're going to feel like, why me? Why is this happening? And this is all, my fault. We're going back to the childhood stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's just truly about understanding how your mind, thought, consciousness all work together in tandem, and being able to access, however you want to describe it. There's so many words to describe that feeling, and
Yeah.
being able to self-regulate and feel
Mhm.
that sense of safety and
Yeah.
security. And it's just for me, I know that I'm there because my shoulders just relax. I feel like this
You can
melting.
too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because I used to get, for years, I put probably a couple of kids through college. I went to a chiropractor to get adjustments on my neck. And after I started really getting into self-help and really understanding how the mind, thought, and consciousness work, I didn't know I walked around with my shoulders up to my earlobes. I just was
Mhm.
so stressed out and overwhelmed and on the verge of burnout for many years, and I didn't realize it was all thought created.
Mhm.
In fact, when I retired and I sold my company, I thought, oh, I'm going to walk out the door and I'll feel amazing and all that stress is just going to go away. Oh no, it followed me. It followed me everywhere I went. So it's
Uh,
truly, I got evidence and proof that it truly is,
mhm.
we create it.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one of the interesting things about working with nurses in burnout is the immediate thought when they realize they're stressed and in burnout and things aren't okay, they think, okay, I'm just going to leave my job and I'll go work at a clinic, or I'm going to leave this department and go work in a different department. And it's so funny because for a little while, their thought is, this is so much better. And so they feel better, right? But sure
Temporary.
enough, their manager starts demanding certain things of them, or they come across another traumatic event, or they realize, that it's not all sunshines and days. There's different stressors, right? I experienced this going from hospital to home health, right? It's like there's different stressors, there's different expectations. The charting is all different. And if you're not watching, all those thoughts that used to cause you so much stress and anxiety and dread over here, you start using them over here.
Mhm.
And now you're experiencing dysregulation and overwhelm, and you're dreading your job. And sure enough, you're like, I need to sell my business, right? I need to change jobs again, right? But when you can start to notice, oh gosh, what's the common denominator here? Common denominator is my brain, right? I brought it with me. So interesting. Maybe I need to look at that internal world, right? How do I handle stressors? How do I handle people in my life who feel triggering, right? And is there a way that I can tap into that? Because safety really is a feeling, right? So how can I generate that feeling and maybe even stay in the role I'm in, right? If it's actually physically safe, right? If you're not having people, you know, threatening you, you know, can I stay here and just change my brain? And it's fascinating when you give yourself a little bit of room to play with that idea of like, okay, let's slow down. What emotions do I want to create and how could I go about it? And you're right, it does take like consciously slowing down frequently, minimally once a week, and I like really just asking yourself, what am I feeling? First of all, what am I feeling? And then how do I create something different? What do I want to feel? Maybe I don't want to feel safe. Maybe I want to feel empowered.
Mhm.
Maybe I want to feel calm. Maybe I want to feel happy, right? How do I create that for myself? Because everybody has different goals, and everybody, um, it's interesting because you talk about like mantras or oh, just think happy thoughts. Your mantra is not going to resonate in my brain, right? You have to figure out what your brain can get on board with. Because I can just take a mantra or a belief, and if I just repeat it over and over, but I don't actually feel it or believe it, my brain's going to reject it.
Yep.
Right. So you have to figure out, okay, how for me, what are those thoughts that I want to practice? Which ones resonate? Which ones create feelings of safety? I can figure this out. I don't have to be mean to myself. Right. I am safe in this situation. I know how to get help. Right. Like, you have to find those thoughts that generate the feelings that you want to experience more often. Not that the uncomfortable, negative, bad feelings are completely going to go away. That's the human experience, right? But if you can tap into safety, then when you're scared, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling sad, you can also feel safe.
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just kind of a final note that I would like to say is, whenever you're feeling off at the start of it,
Mm.
it's key to feeling off at the start of it, because sometimes we can get down the drain so deep, so far that it's really hard to pull out. But, it really is at the start of feeling any kind of negative emotion is just to really, like you said, slow down, stop. What am I thinking and believing, and how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
And shockingly enough, whenever a brand new client of mine, I bring up that phrase with every brand new client. And 99% of the time, they do not know how to articulate how they want to feel. And if you can't articulate it, you won't experience it. So that's, to me, whenever that happens, which I said is 99% of the time, probably 100%, whenever that occurs, I just have such compassion and empathy for them and stop them and say, I can tell you've been operating in survival mode for a very long time, and I'm really sorry about that. And all that is a habit of thought, and your brain is malleable. It's so easy to train your brain to think in a different way. But it does take really seeing the value and seeing how important it is and really wanting to live your life from the inside out. Like, it really takes this devotion and this deep desire to experience life differently. And it's so fascinating because nothing really will change, but everything will seem different. It'll feel different. You'll sleep better. You'll have so much more clarity. You'll see more opportunities. Everything will just feel like so much lighter. And that's what everybody tells me. Usually 3-4 sessions deep, they're like, I don't know, people around me are even saying I feel different, or I look different. Like, I have this glow, or my eyes are bigger, and I don't understand. And I'm like, yeah, because you're doing the work.
Yeah. Because you're managing your brain, and it's a skill that anybody can learn. It just takes the desire. Yeah. It's the desire. I love that. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for chatting with me about safety and regulation. That's awesome.
Great topic. I love it. I love it when you just throw it out there and record.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's see.